Hello, I welcome all of you who joined us now. I'm Olga Tamanova. I'm happy to welcome you in the Media Center Ukraine of Ukrinform today. Almost 10 years is how this war is going on. This is the 720th day since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of the Russian aggressor to our land. Traditionally, I'd like to thank all the representatives of the media who are telling the world the truth about our heroic resistance. We invited you today to the very important topic. Every year on the 20th of February, we commemorate the memory of the heroes of the Heavenly Hundred. This will be the 10th time already this year, and we will commemorate under the conditions of war, so we'll face our own challenges. During the conference, which we invited you to, we will be speaking about the program which we prepared to commemorate the memory of our heroes. We will be speaking about the information and social campaigns and about the key topics which are offered by our speakers today for the use to commemorate this day and our heroes. So I would like to introduce our speakers today. Today we have Rostyslav Karandieiev, Acting First Deputy Minister of Culture and Information Policy, Ihor Hordiichuk, Major General of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Hero of Ukraine, Deputy Head of the National Defense University of Ukraine. We have Volodymyr Tylishchak, Acting Deputy Head of the Ukrainian Institute of National Remembrance, Ihor Poshyvailo, General Director at the National Memorial Complex of Heroes of the Heavenly Hundred, Museum of the Revolution of Dignity, and Pavlo Sydorenko, a serviceman of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, coordinator of the initiative Group of Maidan Victims, Wounded Public Union. Hello, I'd like instantly to give the floor to Rostyslav. Please, let us begin. So what do we plan? Thank you so much. Hello, dear colleagues and dear participants of our meeting. Undoubtedly, the key is the slogan which is in the name, and the objective for all of the events which will take place to commemorate the Day of the Heroes of Heavenly Hundred. We are committed to this memory, the memory of the heroes. We are committed to their heroism. And moreover, I think that to go on with this slogan, which drives our attention to this topic and brings us back in our memory to the events of 10 years ago, that we will still be committed to the memory. We will be committed to the values which the heroes bear, not only of the Revolution of Dignity, but of the current Russo-Ukrainian war. So, altogether, any narrative of any commemoration is connected to the acknowledgement and conclusions. We need to change, and what's more important, to change the future generations of Ukrainians. We should make them better. Without any doubt, this is what we define as the key element of the events which are getting prepared for the commemoration of the memory of the deceased heroes. Our colleagues will tell about that. The 20th of February, as we remember, was one of the most tragic days. 48 of the best Ukrainians perished, the best patriots of our country. Without any doubts, if you remember how hard it was and how sorrowful we were to listen to this information. We couldn't believe that it could take place in Ukraine, and we hoped that those will be our last losses. After that, the victory of Revolution Dignity will allow us to achieve the new European course of development, to achieve the implementation of our visions about other innovative values of our society. But unfortunately, simultaneously, we faced a different challenge, that to overcome our internal adversary, we opened this way for the external enemy, who was using the Ukrainian authorities as their puppet, using this situation illegally and without any respect to the international law and to any human values. They conducted certain measures to invade and to conquer Ukrainians' territories. We are thinking about that on a permanent basis. The retrospective of the events of 10 years ago and the today's events is obvious. So, to bring up the Ukrainian generations as patriots, with the proper attitude towards our country and national values, which were in the hearts of the deceased heroes of the Revolution of Dignities, the heroes of the Heavenly Hundred, and the ones who today are sacrificing, protecting our country, we need to provide the necessary upbringing work. The best is to show examples, the examples of those who lost their lives and showed the highest possible patriotism when the fate of their country was more important than their own fate for them. So the analysis of the events 10 years ago and the analysis of further periods which were before the full-scale invasion is the thing and the affair of the academics, and that's what we'll do. This is one of the key tasks of the Museum of Revolution of Dignity and the academics and scientists who go on with researchers, finding out historical links between multi-year, maybe even 100-year history of relations between Ukraine and Russia and events which are taking place today. But we have to, and we see it necessary to do whatever is possible to quickly respond to such challenges which exist now. Today, the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy, together with the wider society and other central authorities of executive branch, provide several tasks and their implementation to keep the situation in the country and to preserve the legacy which we have today. First of all, the people. First of all, our children. We don't have the right to leave them without childhood. We don't have the right to deprive them of the opportunities which the country, the state, can and has to provide in the upbringing and training. The initiatives which will be implemented within the measures for the commemoration of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred will be done for that. The years will pass. It's obvious that our memory will become vague and about the Revolution of Dignity as well. But for us, so as we could never forget the names of the heroes who gave their lives for the values, so as the values for which they were fighting would be really the values of our society, we need to provide this museification, and we need to provide other important actions. We acknowledge this task, and I'd like to assure you the measures to and the events to this date and during this current period are defined as important and necessary to support the relevance of those events and the actions which were committed. What we do now as the Museum of History of Maidan and the Ukrainian Institute of National Remembrance are created for that. I'm happy about that. And as of now, I'm happy that there are people who sacrifice their time and their opportunities and capacities joining the promotion of the values of Maidan to lead on through the huge narrative of the today's war. Because the values are coinciding now. We are fighting for the independence of the armed forces at the front line, as well as 10 years ago, at the smaller front line, along the Institutska Street, our heroes of Heavenly Hundred were fighting as well. We understand that it's best to provide these ideas and certain information with the help of visualization, with the help of the modern tools and means which we have. That is why the ministry has commissioned a little video of social ad which we will offer in the information space of the country to commemorate the day of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred. You will see it today. But not only this video, it's obvious that the component of our work is also the production of other audiovisual products. They have been done and they will be done further on. We will go on with this practice of the permanent support of these art initiatives which drive attention of the society towards the events of the Revolution of Dignity and further on, which is also embedded in the plans of measures of the Ministry of Culture for 2024 and other years. That is why, in this case, we are not stopping with our activity in our daily work. At this date, the date for the Heroes of Heavenly 100, and we think it's important for us, as well as in the educational and upbringing process and in the process of cultural production, there should be the permanent production of the national patriotic products, which would allow us further on to provide the formation and upbringing of our youth, our further next generations, in the values of Maidan. So please, the organizers of our meeting, could you show this video, which will be disseminated and spread over the media channels, and my colleagues can tell more details about the program which has been prepared by the Ukrainian Institute of National Remembrance and the Museum of Revolution of Dignity for the date of commemoration of the Heroes of Heavenly 100 on the 20th of February. Thank you, Rostyslav, and I would ask our support technical team to show this video. You're with us every day, every hour, every moment, every fight, every combat and shot, every step forward. You are with us, in the air, in the work, in the memory, in our pride, in our hatred, in our consciousness. You are inspiring and pushing us forward. You are don't let us put up with anything. We are still worthy of our heroes. Let us stay worthy on the 20th of February, the day of the Heroes of Heavenly 100. Thank you, Ihor. The question to you. Rostyslav just said that we have to train our further generations, focusing on the deeds, heroic actions which were done to preserve our freedom, our dignity. So do we cope with this task now? Do we cope to implement it in the Institute program? The mic, please. It's a question to me, right? Yes, thank you. Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. I wish you health and glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. I am Major General Ihor Hordiichuk of the Armed Forces. For more than 7 years, I had an honor to be the head of the Lyceum named after Ivan Bohun. I was working with the youth of the 7th to 10th grades. Those are the youngest who put on the uniform, and then 90% and more are becoming the officers of the Armed Forces and other defense forces of Ukraine. Now our Lyceum is the component of the National Institute of National Defense University, and now I'm the deputy head, working with the youngest of 13 to 17 years and the older, the officers of higher ranks, including the cadets. We are working with all the categories, paying more attention to the youth. We have our expectations and hopes on them. So I'd like to express my gratitude to all the organizers, including the Mr. Acting Deputy Minister and all the organizers and participants, because the most important for us is to preserve and to disseminate this memory for the younger generation. We have the highest hopes for them because it's hard to work. I do remember when Maidan was starting, I was in the main command center which was created. We were trying to influence the situation in the Crimea as well, but it was a bit too late. So we didn't have anyone to work with. All the connections were cut, and whoever was staying there, they were already paralyzed. They were not capable to accomplish any missions. But what was the most important thing which we coped with? We were not that numerous. The senior officers in the general staff and command center, not to allow the armed forces get against the people of Ukraine. I had the honor to be one of the few in the initiative group where we had to convince the command commandment that the armed forces should be with the people. This was one of the most important tasks which we accomplished, and the armed forces stayed faithful to their oath and the people of Ukraine, which sped up and made us closer to the victory of Euromaidan, the revolution of dignity, and minimized the losses. Of course, it does not take away the responsibility from the criminal regime of Yanukovych, which, as it was just mentioned, managed from the external terrorists and Russian fascists. And the historians need to find out, since 1991, since the restoration of our independence on the 24th of August, we had the best starting positions, but we failed to use them during all the 30-plus years. But now one of our important tasks today is to look at this high price of blood which is paid by our guys and ladies who are at the front line. Thanks to them, we have the opportunity. You do remember the enemy's plans to revenge, to have the revenge after the previous events. So thanks to the guys and ladies who are at the front line with their hardest job, and here, even in Kiev, we can see terrorist attacks, that we should stand and win. The second component of the victory is the unity of the whole people. You do remember the enemy is trying to make us separate when it used to be more than 100 years ago. And we have high hopes for our media and information consciousness. We don't have any other Ukraine. We are not trying to hold for our positions, but for the idea, for Ukraine. And the third component is international support, because unfortunately, the dictatorship regimes are more united. Iran, Muscovy, China, North Korea turned out to be more united than the whole world. Not a single institution, including the EU and NATO, were able to resist. The whole world civilization is relying upon Ukraine. So we need to go on with this fight. We, the National Defense University, are upbringing the youth according to the values of the participants of the revolutions of dignity. They did the hardest. They broke through the information and economic blockade, and we are going the same path. Whatever it may seem hard, we still have to go on till the victory, though it may seem hard. The majority, 80+%, have already been salvaged. So yes, the price is very high. But the alternative, maybe I shouldn't say like that, but the reality is that 80 to 20, that we will save the population and the country. But if we put up with that, it will be vice versa. We'll be in Siberia, we'll have famine again. So I'm incredibly grateful for the invitation. And I do call to you, let us go on with this fight, which was inspired by the sacrifices of the Heavenly Hundred. They changed the perception of the senior officers who were the commanders of the units. They did not join the police and they did not go against the people of Ukraine. I thank all of you, including the ones who are at the front line, and of course, rest in peace those who are already not with us. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Thank you, Major General. Volodymyr, the question is to you. We understand that February, unfortunately, has really several painful dates for us. So how can we preserve this memory of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred, understanding that every day we are losing a huge number of our, well, kind of a blossom of our nation? How can we respond to this challenge now? Good day. Thank you for the question. First and foremost, we cannot and we don't have any right, and it would be not reasonable to separate or moreover juxtapose the losses which we used to have then and the losses which we have now. Because those are the losses which are hard and painful as well, which Ukraine is having fighting for all of these 10 years for our freedom and independence from the Russian aggressor. So, in fact, we can say that the sacrifices, the people who died at Maidan are the first sacrifices, the first heroes of resistance against Russian aggression. Because, in fact, the Revolution of Dignity used to be the first victory of Ukraine in this war against the Russian aggressor, which stopped the hybrid occupation of Ukraine. After the defeat at Maidan, the Russian regime decided to make something more a kind of an action of despair with an open aggression. So it's obvious that our memory about the heroes of Heavenly Hundred and all the defenders of Ukraine is sacred. It cannot be kind of forgotten and so on. If we say how we can commemorate and preserve the memory, we have already a certain answer. Last year, when we ordered the sociological survey, and we also posed a question, among others, what, in your opinion, is or will be the best commemoration of the memory of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred? And more than 50% of citizens chose the answer, the real reforms in the country and overcoming of corruption. And the second answer was, finally, verdicts in the cases of Maidan and, in fact, jail for the ones who are to blame. So the reforms and accession to the EU, the victory over the Russian aggressor, will be today the best reflection of our memory about those heroes. But it's obvious that it does not diminish the important memory to be preserved and living, not just living, but with its academic and scientific researches and other work on preservation of memory, commemoration. And this program, which we are presenting today together, first of all, is the work of the Museum of Revolution of Dignity, which is working on that and offered such an program even under such conditions of the martial law, when we don't have the opportunity to commemorate the heroes as it should be, appropriately. But we are conducting certain measures and events which are committed to remind the whole society about the heroes. The resistance started with them. Ihor, let us tell more about the program. Thank you. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. My gratitude goes to our warriors and soldiers of the armed forces and defense forces for the opportunity to preserve memory about the first heroes, not the sacrifices, but the heroes. Why is this program important? Because it's not just for the memory heritage. It's not a cult approach. It's vice versa. It's a certain weapon as well, because Russian Federation is still going on with its attempts to distort the history of the events of Revolution of Dignity, to humiliate the participants of the Maidan events, to humiliate the heroes of Heavenly Hundred. On the other hand, the memory and understanding of these events is really a very powerful shift in the consciousness, what General Hordiichuk said, because the events of Maidan changed our consciousness. And commemorating the memory of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred, we are commemorating the memory of the heroes who are protecting Ukraine now. And Maidan was the place where, using these deeds of the heroes of Heavenly Hundreds, the new actions were brought up, and many participants of Maidan instantly in 2014 went to the front line. They were volunteers, and still they are in the armed forces and the defense forces. So commemorating the memory of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred, we are not just commemorating the memory of the 107 heroes and their brothers in arms. We are commemorating the whole heavenly troops of Ukraine, whom we lost, in fact, who are now in paradise, in heaven, sacrificing their most valuable, their life. The program is very saturated. Volodymyr says we cannot do that appropriately, but I think it is appropriate under these conditions. It's not how we'd like it to be, but still the sociological surveys and the attitude towards this event tell us not about the massive character, but about the depth of understanding and your own participation of the perception of these events, because the sociological surveys, which were timely initiated by the Institute of Remembrance, and even the attitude of the people and understanding of these events witnesses that those events are becoming even more relevant. We thought, and we were worried about that, because before the full-scale invasion, the surveys showed that those events are not relevant, not only for our Western partners, but for Ukrainians as well. The reasons are obvious. There was some disappointment in the speed and quality of reforms in Ukraine, the legal and investigative actions. There was disappointment in the quick and speedy changes, which should be much more radical and of higher quality. But on the other hand, we can see that many people are trying to understand what took place at Maidan. And today, not only the Ukrainian society, but the law enforcement authorities as well are providing certain investigative actions. There is certain evidence that in 2014 there was an aggression act by Russian Federation against Ukraine. And it tells us that it's not the metaphor. We say that the war started at Maidan, the war of Ukraine for its own freedom against the Russian aggression. The act of aggression was conducted even then. That is why our program is a kind of multi-level. It is created for different audiences. It includes the traditional commemorative practices, with from the communicative form of memory, they are transformed into the cultural form, from the grassroots initiative, which is shaping certain commemorative approaches, and the regional approach is very important. Rostyslav presented the video. The Ministry of Culture and the Museum of Maidan have developed social ad, which can be found in Kiev, and we hope it will reach the regions. It's not only the attempt to formally remind about this event, but to make it more relevant, to make the relevant events more sufficient and substantial for the today's events. What's important? On the 18th, 19th, and 20th, we have the epicenter of these events. So on the 18th of February in Mariinsky Park at 12 p.m., we'll have the event to commemorate the deceased. The movement of Ukrainian Patriotic Alternative conducts this annual meeting at the crossroads of Grushevsky and Kripasnoy bylane. This day starts with the commemoration, the public event in Mariinsky Park, and we'll have the evening mass to commemorate the memory of heroes of Heavenly Hundred in St. Michael's Church at 4 p.m. After the mass, we'll have the traditional march of memory from St. Michael's Church to the alley of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred. During this day, the Information Center of the Museum of Maidan at 1 p.m. we invite to commemorate the memory of Taras Matveyev, who is also the Maidan activist, the warrior of the Ukrainian army who died in 2020 at the Russo-Ukrainian War. It will be at 1 p.m. He is worthy of morning sun. This will be the presentation about our unique compatriot Taras Matveyev. On the 19th of February, an important event, we are opening the exhibition of the Belgian photo artist Jim Sumkai, and the name of this exhibition, Kiev 2014, The Comeback. It will be done simultaneously in Kiev and Brussels in Euro Parliament. It's also important for us to drive attention of our European partners towards the deeper understanding of what is taking place here today. This exhibition will take place at Kontraktova Square, at the commemorative platform of the Ukrainian Institute of Remembrance. We invite you to the opening at 2 p.m. on the 19th of February, Kontraktova Square. The same day, we'll have a very important event with our partners, the network of Docu Club and Docu Days organization. In the Information Exhibition Center of the Museum of Maidan, we will show one more significant film about Maidan, Euromaidan Rough Cut. This is done by Rostyslav Bondarchuk, who is from Kherson. And this will be the collective art project who will tell about Maidan, which is very interesting and deep, which is done by DocuDays. On the 19th of February, that's it. Let's move to the 20th. In the morning, traditionally, we'll have the ceremony of commemoration of the memory of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred at the alley. Pavlo Sydorenko is one of the initiators to conduct this ceremony at the day. It's nice that we have several partners. The Kiev Seminary of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church and the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine are taking part in that. This ceremony was provided on the initiative of the families of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred and the Museum of Maidan several years ago. This is not a chaotic commemoration. This is already the state confirmed by some canon ceremony. And what's important, after that, traditionally, we have a kind of a people's emotional, deep meeting and a kind of a silent event, the Angels of Memory. The Territory A, the Art Agency, and Angelika Rudnitska will do that, not only in Kiev, but abroad as well. Lots of European capitals are supporting this event, so we invite you at 12 p.m. on the 20th of February. So just show the little figures of angels as the symbols of the Heavenly Hundred. At 12 p.m. we also plan to open the street exhibition Maidan Sich, the beginning of the war, around the Independence Square monument, where we'll have the exhibition of the best pictures of the famous photographers about Maidan. And during this day, since 12 p.m. till 7 p.m. on the 20th of February, the Tuesday, the working day, we'll go on with the exhibition of the earthly ways of Heavenly Hundred. In my opinion, it's one of the most powerful exhibitions about the Heavenly Hundred, which allows to delve deeper into their fates. Those are tiny stories which are based upon very specific, their personal belongings, provided by the families of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred and also by the Prosecutor General's office. This exhibition is already taking place since January at Bogdan Khmelnytsky Street 7, the whole third floor. If you did not visit it, please go there because it will take place till the 25th of February. From 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. at Ukrinform here, we'll have the media marathon, which will focus upon the analysis of the 10 years of Russian aggression, the Ukrainian way towards justice, Maidan, Crimea, the East, the full-scale invasion. One of the morning sessions in particular will dwell upon the topic of justice. We will consider the issue of the Maidan cases and justice, its perspectives, so I sincerely invite you. On the 22nd of February, the Museum of Maidan is inviting you to the Information Center at Independence Square. We'll have a thematic evening, the song which has become Requiem. And an important event which will take place during these days, we are preparing the concert with an online broadcast as well in the Suspilne network, the 10 years of indomitability, the concert of memory and strength. The Maidan bands, the performers, will have the concert and will broadcast it on TV. The concert will take place within these symbolic days, but its broadcast will take place a bit later, so let us follow the schedule of Suspilne. And on the 15th of February, in several days, in Poltava, in the Agrarian University, we'll have another event to commemorate the memory of the heroes of Heavenly Hundred. The initiators are the Poltava Association of Farmers and Private Landowners. This is also an interesting initiative because Viktor Chmelenko is not from Poltava region, he's from Kirovograd region. But some of the regions are making the memory about the heroes of Heavenly Hundred even more relevant. So this is a very interesting commemorative event for the young audience. And to conclude, those are just main events. There will be more numerous from our partners. There is the QR code at our programs, the website of the Museum of Maidan. You can get to know about the changes changes in the program and some of the additions. But let me emphasize, today, under the conditions when it's impossible to provide the mass public events, it's important to create certain spaces which would help people to get to know more about this topic, to debate, to discuss. What's interesting, during these days, we'll have 8 exhibition projects. Several days ago, together with the Museum of Russo-Ukrainian War in Zbaraj, which Volodymyr Hordiichuk is the head of, the father of Ustim Hordiichuk, we opened the exhibition devoted to Marko Poslavsky. It is in Zbaraj, and it will take place for a long time. This exhibition is updated because we are adding new facts which are provided by the Prosecutor General Office, and the exhibition is done annually at the alley of the Heroes of Heavenly Hundred with Maidan cases on the way to justice and its history. In the Gallery of Portrait at Lipska Street, we are opening on the 16th of February the exhibition of Mykola Goncharov, famous Ukraine not instead of weapon. It will be done at Kontraktova Square and in the Museum of Taras Shevchenko, the National Museum. On the 21st of February, we're opening the exhibition The Territory of Freedom, Maidan, for 210th anniversary from the day of birth of Taras Shevchenko and the 10th anniversary of the Revolution of Dignity. The exposition On the Way to Freedom, Info Information Center at Maidan. So I invite all of you to join the commemorative events. It's important to cover not only Kyiv city but the regions as well. And you know, our museum, the Maidan Museum, since the first days of the war has founded the staff of legacy and heritage. We have the expeditions throughout the regions of Ukraine. We document the damaged cultural heritage, the acts of and the facts of crimes of Russian Federation against the humanitarian law and cultural heritage in particular. We can see in the deoccupied or almost fully ruined cities and settlements of Ukraine, there are lots of memorials of for the heroes of Heavenly Hundred and our warriors. We know about the targeted destroying of these monuments by Russian occupiers. Our foreign partners, with the help of the modern satellite monitoring systems and labs in the UK and the US, they document such cases, which are really numerous. We can see this change of the landscape of memory at the occupied territories. We can see the change, the replacement of the monuments. Instead of Lenin, they introduce them, the Russian occupiers introduce the new memories for so-called heroes from the Russian troops. They destroy the monuments of Ukrainian heroes, the heroes of Heavenly Hundred, including Vasil Slipak. They take away the literature of history. First of all, books from the libraries on the war, on the Revolution of Dignity, the topics which have become public of the so-called DPR and LPR. They take away and destroy the books from the Ukrainian Institute of Remembrance. The whole agenda is created for our citizens to acknowledge the succession of our war and to understand also the vile manner and nature of Russian Federation and their aggression, which is the hybrid warfare, that we should have the opportunity to counterattack, not just to formally commemorate the memory of our heroes in the official dates, but we should remember about them every day, and we should also protect our state, which would be the biggest memory for our deceased. Thank you, Ihor. Pavlo, we heard about the very saturated agenda during which we will commemorate the heroes of Heavenly Hundred, but altogether we understand that this is the time to thank those who were wounded during this fight. So do we manage to involve them into such events? Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. During the 90s, one of the best towns of Ukraine, Vyacheslav Chernovil, said that Ukraine, its will and freedom and democracy had a very light price. 10 years ago, We just began the understanding of the depth of these words, and we started to pay the real price for our freedom and independence. 10 years ago, we had this euphoria. We thought that we won, but in fact, we won only in the first battle for independence, for our existence. In the war, the new Russo-Ukrainian war, which started 10 years ago during the events of Maidan, during the events of the Revolution of Dignity. That is why the heroes of the Heavenly Hundred were the first who deceased in the new Russo-Ukrainian war, and the wounded Maidan participants have become the first veterans of the modern Russo-Ukrainian war, the war for existence and independence. 10 years is how long is the Russo-Ukrainian war for the map of the world and the Europe to preserve our country, Ukraine, and the Ukrainian nation. This fight is going on for 10 years. We have to be worthy of memory of our deceased brothers in arms, Maidan participants. We need to finish what they started 10 years ago with their sacrifices. We need to win, to preserve our state of Ukraine for our successors, our children. And we need to finish this war with the victory. The fight is going on. We will win. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Dear colleagues, I'd like you to join this conversation. If you've got any questions or comments, please. There are no questions, so undoubtedly I would like to thank all of you. Of course, I'd like to express my gratitude to Ihor and Pavlo, and to tell you thank you from all of us Ukrainians, to our security and defense forces. We thank you for this an opportunity to get together in this hall and to plan these events which will help us to commemorate the memory of our heroes. We thank you, and thank you, dear colleagues, for the interest to this topic we are working on together for the sake of our victory. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes.